Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So Brian Norman Jr. put on a spectacular performance this weekend versus Gio Santillan. He went into that fight as an underdog. Santillan was highly touted, coming off of great performances, stopped Alexis Rocha, beat him down bad, who's, in my opinion, a really good fighter. He was 32-0. Brian Norman was 25-0, 23 years old. Santillan, a veteran, undefeated, haven't learned how to lose at the professional level, and was 32 years old. So when this fight got made, a lot of people were surprised, saying that, man, it's bad matchmaking on the behalf of Norman's handlers. He's not ready for this fight. In the last couple of fights that he had, one was a no contest due to a headbutt early on in the fight, and then prior to that versus Randall, he went, the distance, got dropped, in these last couple of performances. So he didn't look spectacular, and he gained a lot of criticism from people. And a lot of people felt like, man, this kid, he's not fully developed yet. He's not ready for a guy like Santillan. Went into this fight as a major underdog. And Brian Norman shocked the world. It was a action-packed fight through and through. For a lot of the fight, you saw Santillan doing a lot of pressuring, bulldozing in, pressuring, putting Brian Norman Jr. on the ropes. But what I thought was the most impressive in those exchanges was Norman's ability to fight off of the ropes and be active with his back against the ropes. You don't see that a lot, especially with young fighters. A lot of times these guys, they get their back against the ropes and they just shell up and go into full defense mode, or they just start holding. They go in straight survival mode. But Brian Norman showed a lot of skill, ability, and wherewithal to know that, hey, if I'm going to be on these ropes, I got to throw punches. I got to fight off these ropes. I got to be able to, be in the pocket and catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? And he was loving that uppercut, which ultimately did Santillan in, right? And it's crazy because off of the ropes throughout the duration of the fight, Brian Norman was throwing that right uppercut, which was landing a lot to the body and to the head. And then towards the later rounds of the fight, man, you saw Santillan start to wear down. You saw the blood trickling from his face. You saw the wear and tear and just the damage that Norman had done over the course of the fight. And Norman started to walk forward and put his punches together. I mean, he was throwing some beautiful combinations. And see how I mentioned with the right uppercut off the ropes, he ended the fight. Well, he dropped Santillan with a right uppercut. And then Santillan got back up. He finished him with a unconventional left uppercut from the orthodox stance. Beautiful, beautiful. And it was a devastating knockout, too. I mean, Santillan's whole body was lifeless mid-air after that left uppercut landed. I'm talking about he just leaned over, slumped, face bloody. It was, man, boxing is a brutal sport. And I hope that Santillan is good, man. I hope everything is, hope he's able to still have all his faculties, man, and, go home to his family and be good, man. But that was a beautiful performance by Norman and a huge upset victory. And I want to talk about a lot of the fake outrage, man. He did oppose, the first knockdown, dropped him with the right uppercut, kind of gave him a little shimmy, you know what I'm saying? And then after the KO, or in the midst of the KO, as Santillan's lifeless body drops to the canvas, Norman posed right there, you know what I'm saying, to take a look. He got the best seats in the house. You feel me? He right there taking a look, admiring his work. Now, this is one of the few times that I advocate for fighters admiring their work. I don't like when guys throw punches, throw combinations, and then look at the shit and end up getting caught with something because they admiring their work. After you finish your job, like Norman did, you get your man out of there, then you can admire your work. So, but I want to talk about the fake outrage, man. A lot of people, you know, and it's mostly one group of people, but there's a lot of different like fake outrage out there. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's funny because you had a similar situation with El Rayo versus Chris Colbert. Now, I'm no big fan of Chris Colbert. I think the kid can fight, but I'm not really a big fan of his character. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the things that he said over the course of his career, essentially separating himself from what would be his actual fan base, right? You know, so hey, a guy, I thought Rayo won the first fight versus Chris Colbert, so I wasn't surprised that Rayo went in there and put the beats on him in that second fight. But Rayo had a similar pose after knocking out Chris Colbert, and nobody was outraged. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get no outrage. People were cheering. People were happy that Colbert got his ass whooped. You know, I wasn't mad that Colbert got his ass whooped, and you know, he put himself in that position. You dig what I'm saying? But there was no outrage. But you know, now when the shoe's on the other foot, and Norman does the same thing, you know, to a highly touted, heralded Mexican fighter, undefeated guy in Santillan, you know, people are outraged. People are in the comments calling Norman all type of, you know, names and slurs and all type of stuff, man. And you know, you got fans of Norman in the comments that are happy and cheering their guy on, and under their comments, there's people disrespecting them. And I mean, it's boxing at the end of the day, man. And it's a showman sport. And the best thing about all of this is that Brian Norman did it the right way. He got it out the mud. He did it clean. You know, he made weight. You know what I'm saying? He didn't use no performance enhancement drugs. This kid did it the right way. You dig what I'm saying? And you got to commend that. And he was an underdog. Of course he's going to be excited. Of course he's going to be elated. Of course his energy is going to be through the roof because he proved everybody wrong. They fighting in San Diego. I don't know if y'all are familiar with places like San Diego and Riverside, California. Take a look at the crowds. They don't really, they don't take too kindly to black fighters. Just keeping it 100. They don't. So you got to understand, you got a young 23-year-old black American fighter from Atlanta, Georgia, who has the world in front of him, hasn't been looking great in his last couple of fights, and he's fighting an undefeated Mexican fighter. The whole crowd is rooting against you, and you go out, and you're an underdog, and you go out there and put the Dr. Dre beats on him like that, bruh, you know it's going to be some energy. Everybody in the whole building was against you except for you and your father. You feel what I'm saying? So you got to understand, man, it's going to be a lot of love and a lot of energy and emotions and excitement and, you know, vigor that's oozing out of Brian Norman's, you know, out of his personality in those moments. So, hey, man, I thought it was a great performance. I just think the outrage is crazy. It's crazy, you know. But Brian Norman put the welterweight division on notice. I think he's going to be in some exciting fights going forward. He did call out Mario Barrios. After that, I would love to see that fight. And Mario Barrios has been looking spectacular in his recent performances. So I would love to see Brian Norman get in there with Barrios. I think that's a great fight. And, you know, I'm looking forward to see what Norman does against the other top guys at 147. You got the Stanioneses, you got the Jerron Boots Ennises of the world. Who knows how long he'll be at 47. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be some really good matchups that you can put. And Norman, he's an exciting fighter. Another thing, let me talk about. His chin and endurance was top tier to be able to withstand the onslaught and pressure of Santillan for all those rounds, and then to close like he did and have the energy that he did at the end of that fight, man. that right there is something. All he got to do is sharpen up on his skills, man. Sharpen up on that defense. And I think with time, he's again, keep in mind this kid is only 23. He got a lot of room to grow. So I think he's going to get better, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments. What did y'all think about the performance? Who would you like to see Brian Norman Jr. in the ring with next, man? Contender Regime Boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.